Hey y'all, how's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody's doing well. I guess I'm doing okay myself. If you've been here before, welcome back to the channel. If you've never been here before, well, welcome. And my channel is a bunch of random things that I talk about, all kinds of things. So I hope you'll check out some of my videos. I hope you'll subscribe and enjoy yourself while you're here. Today I'm actually going to read one of my books that I recently published. One of 3 books that I recently published is Penny Petunia Possum's Telltale. This is a rhyming book. Several of my books are rhyming. 2 of the ones that I recently published are rhyming, and I have another rather large one that I'm working on that is all rhyming also. And I do poetry and song lyrics and all sorts of things. I dabble in making my own music. I just do all kinds of things. For my books, I actually do my own illustrations too. So I do the illustrations, I format it, I upload it, I do everything as far as the process of publishing a book goes. So, and I use Kindle to publish my books, Amazon. I do that, and so far I've been pretty happy with it. I haven't sold a lot of books yet because I really haven't had the money or anything to promote my books, so they're just kind of there, and if someone stumbles upon it, there it is. I'm not I'm not a type person that just can advertise for myself or whatever, or you know, I'm critical of my work, and sometimes I don't think it's the greatest that it could be, and so I don't know. I've never been one to go out there and actually push my work. And, you know, I love doing it on Kindle and everything like that, but sometimes I feel like I have to charge too much or whatever, you know. And I've always been told that, you know, the time that we spend writing these books, if someone had to pay us an hourly wage for what we write, you know, books for, create art for, or create music or whatever, if we got paid by an hourly wage, we would make a lot of money, because we put a lot of hours into writing and making music and, you know, artwork, whatever. We put a lot of work into that, but, you know, we don't get paid a whole lot for it, and that's fine. I don't mind. My main goal for writing my books was I just have these cute little stories, and I just wanted to share them with people. And my stories always have some kind of a good meaning to them, and so I like to get them out there. But like I said, you know, I always feel like I'm charging too much or or something like that, you know. So I really haven't pushed my book a whole lot, so it's just kind of sitting there in case, you know, somebody stumbles across it or something. But I decided I was going to read Penny Petunia Possum to you today, and I might end up reading the others too, I'm not sure. I really wanted to do an audiobook of it. And you can do that with Kindle, with Amazon if you want to, but I think you pretty much have to use their voiceover actors and stuff. And so I decided, hey, I'm just going to read it. I'm just going to read it here on my YouTube channel and see what you guys think of it, and hopefully you'll like it. And I do sell hard copies over there on my Kindle page, on my Amazon authors page. I have all 3 of my books. I have them in digital form, and right now actually Amazon's running a really good thing. If you sign up for Kindle Unlimited or whatever it is, I think you get like 2 months free, so that's a pretty good deal. And they have a lot of good deals with their digital reading program, I think. But my books are also not only available in digital download reading, they're also available in softcover and hardcover. So I think they would make some really great little Christmas gifts, but you know, I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm very critical of my writing, of pretty much everything I do. But I am going to read this book to you, and hopefully you'll like it. And yeah, if you have kids or whatever and you want them to hear a cute little story, this is a good little story. And like I said, it's rhyming, so if your kids are in school and they're learning all about rhyming and stuff like that, this is a good little book to read. So like I said, it's called Penny Petunia Possum's Tale. And so yeah, I'll just get right on into it and read it to you and see what you guys think about it. And the writing is large enough in these that I don't even have to have my glasses on, so keep that in mind if you want to read and you don't want to wear your glasses when you're reading. This, I used a bigger font so that it was easy to read without glasses. So, here we go. Deep in the misty, brackish bayou of Muck Swamp lived a family of big-eared possum. Paw Paw, Donovan, and Maw Blossom. Their daughter, Polly. Their sons, Arnold, Rasputin, Gorbert, Andy, Gunther, Hal, and Ollie. Many aunties and uncles and cousins, too. Oh, and several other possums that they knew. Did you know a group of possum is called a passel? This particular passel lived in a nice but sometimes dangerous community. Some lived in burrows and some lived in a giant hollow oak tree. Some lived in a big hole-filled log. Others lived under sycamore tree roots that meandered above and below the ground all around the bog. There were many other creatures that shared the swamp and nearby river's edge. There were ducks and geese and all sorts of other birds that nested in the thick cane stalks and sedge. Frogs and alligators and various snakes, turtles and insects. Some were very large creatures, and others were just tiny specks. The days and nights were filled with many sounds and sights. In the summer, the fireflies twinkled like tiny Christmas tree lights. The air was filled with the smell of salty brine. Songbirds, woodpeckers, raccoons, and squirrels nested in the sky-high pine. In the nearby dryland field and forest lived some wild turkeys, black bears, and white-tailed deer. In the spring, Muck Swamp was at what seemed like the most active time of year. This was the time of year that many of the critters were welcoming new babies into their prides. The beautiful wildflowers bursted out from the buds and sides, bringing colorful, fragrant rugs of blossom. It was a very special time for the big-eared possum. It was the time of the year the joeys were born. Did you know that when joeys are born, they're all about the size of a piece of popcorn? There are my illustrations. The little possums down there. They're also born blind and hairless, and they can't hear. Oh dear. It sounds awful scary, I know. It's okay, don't worry. They're safe inside their mama's pouch while they grow. As was the case of some very special joeys born to Polly Possum a few years back. Hey, this is a good time to tell you that a girl possum is a Jill and a boy possum is a Jack. Polly had married a Jack named Clyde the year before, and they were about to welcome their first joeys into the family pride. Everyone was so excited for the babies to leave Polly's pouch and come outside. Papa Donovan and Mama Blossom and all the other Pollys, aunties, uncles, cousins, and brothers. They were all waiting to meet the tiny new members of the opossum family. They all wondered how many Jacks and Jills there would be. They all offered name ideas: Sophie, Rex, Clyde Jr., Buddy, and Riz. Polly happily listened to every suggestion they all had. Papa Donovan said, "You most certainly should name one after his dear old granddad." She and Clyde chuckled, but they agreed with him. They also really liked the name Brim. Brother Gunther suggested it, and the name Earl. Mama Blossom said she liked Penny or Petunia for a girl. So many names, but so much uncertainty. Even Polly had no idea how many Jacks and Jills there would be. They all decided it would be best to wait until the joeys came out of Polly's pouch to name them, except for possibly Donovan, Clyde Jr., and Bram. Surely there were at least 3. Mama Blossom said she once knew a Jill who had 20. She said she hoped there would be at least enough Jills to use the names Petunia and Penny. Polly smiled and tightly hugged her mother. She said that soon they would know one way or the other. Chapter 2, The Big Storm. Polly was awakened from her sleep one evening by the crack of thunder and the bright flash of lightning. She normally didn't mind storms, but this one was very frightening. The wind was blowing really hard outside. One gust caught the den's door and blew it open wide. She started to ask Clyde to close the door, but she suddenly remembered that he wasn't there. He was out gathering food somewhere. So she got up from the couch where she had been sleeping to go close it herself. She stopped for a moment to grab a candle off a nearby shelf. As she picked it up, the wind came blowing in and put it right out. Then a clap of thunder shook the whole den and caused Polly to jump and shout, "Oh my! What a terrible storm this is! I sure wish Clyde wasn't out in this." Just as she made her way to the door, there was a blinding bright flash. It was followed by a very loud crash. She screamed from the startling light and sound. The next thing she knew, she was waking up on the ground. Her fainting possum instinct had put her into a coma-like state. She was paralyzed from fear, so to move even a tiny bit, she had to wait. As she lay there, semi-unconscious on the floor, she watched the lightning flashing on the ceiling and the wall. She felt dizzy from the fall. She lay still for several minutes, which seemed like more. Finally, she was able to get up and make her way to the door. There's a picture of her. I don't know if you can see that real good or not. There's a picture of her laying on the floor where she had passed out. She cautiously peeked out to see if she could see what had made that loud crashing noise out there. It sounded like a huge tree falling somewhere. "Polly, Polly, can you hear me?" It was the sound of a distant call for help plea. She answered, "Clyde, is that you?" The voice didn't respond, and Polly didn't know what to do. Exactly where the voice had come from, she didn't know. She wasn't sure which way to go. She thought that maybe it was just the wind. Then she heard it again, this time more clear. "Polly, help me, I'm over here. Here by the giant hollow oak tree." Polly ran towards the direction of where the giant tree stood. She ran as fast as she possibly could. When she reached the spot of the great giant tree, she realized what the loud crash had been. The tree had fallen and was laying right on top of the neighboring possum's den. She could see Clyde every time the lightning lit up the night sky. He appeared to be all right. As she got closer, she could see that he was trying to get the door open on the neighbor's crushed den. She started feeling like she was going to pass out again, but she knew Clyde needed her to help him save their friends. There's a picture of the tree that fell. I don't think my camera is probably not going to pick this up very good, but there's the tree that fell. He told her that he needed a couple of sturdy, strong tree limbs. So without question, she started looking for some all around. She still couldn't believe the giant oak tree was now laying on the ground. She suddenly thought about all the critters that lived in the tree and under the roots, too. The paralyzing feeling was coming again, but she couldn't let it keep her from doing what she had to do. Finding the sturdy, strong limbs Clyde asked for was her task. So, do you think she was able to do what Clyde asked? Well, luckily she did find what she was looking for. By the time she got back to Clyde with the limbs, some young creatures had shown up just in time to help him with the door to the den. There were several possums and a young raccoon named Gideon. He was known in Muck Swamp as Super Gid. Like most raccoons, he was a bit of a bandit, but still a good kid. In fact, the reason they called him Super Gid was because he had saved several of the animals in the swamp from a flood. He had to dig some of them out of some really deep mud. He also rescued some baby squirrels from a forest fire in the nearby woods. He was definitely well liked in the neighborhood. Polly had been so preoccupied she had forgotten about the little Joeys in her pouch, but the storm had practically thrown her off of the couch. She hoped that they were doing okay. They were due to come out of her pouch now any day. She was ready for that day, for sure. If she was correct, she figured there were probably 4. That's how many she seemed to feel. Her mind suddenly drifted back to the giant fallen tree in front of her, and for a moment the thought to herself that maybe she was dreaming and none of this was real. Chapter 3. Meeting the Joeys. 2 days after the terrible storm, Polly was again napping on the couch. She was woken up abruptly again, but this time because the Joeys were being more active than usual inside of her pouch. Here's a picture of her sleeping on the couch. I'll post these pictures at the end of the book too, or at the end of the video. I'll post them at the end of the video so you guys can see those. Polly knew today was going to be the day. They had been born exactly 2 months ago from yesterday. That's how long the babies need to stay in the pouch to continue their Joey's growing process. But as with any part of life, sometimes it takes more time and sometimes it takes less. Polly rolled over on her back and looked down at her pouch and saw the much anticipated surprise. There, looking back at her, were not 1 but 2 sets of eyes. 2 of the Joeys were peeking out in wonder and uncertainty. Polly smiled and softly said, "Hi there, I'm your mommy." And there's a picture of her looking at her belly and the eyes are looking back at her. For a moment, they both ducked back inside. Then they were back in view, wide-eyed. Polly told them that it was safe to come out when they were ready to. She said, "I'm very anxious to meet all of you." Very slowly, the first little Joey came out of the pouch. Clyde had come in and saw what was taking place, and so he very quietly and slowly sat down beside Polly on the couch. "They're finally here," she whispered to him. They were both so happy that they were finally about to meet them. Following the first one, another one came out, and then another, and another, and another, until there were 8. But wait, there appeared to be 1 more small lump in her pouch still, but it wasn't moving, at least not that she could feel. Slowly, with the feeling of dread, she stuck her nose into her pouch to see what the lump could be. What she felt there felt like another Joey, but it was very tiny. As she stuck her nose against it, it wiggled around a little bit. She very gently put her mouth around it. She pulled the tiny lump out of her pouch very carefully. She and Clyde could not have been prepared for what they were about to see. She laid the tiny lump on her tummy to see exactly what it was. It looked like nothing more than a big lump of fuzz. But whatever it was alive. She wondered if she should put it back in her pouch to help it survive. Then, as though it had just been sleeping, it jumped up and looked all around. Then it put its head back and made a funny sound. It was a screech, or maybe more like a squawk. It resembled a Joey, but it didn't have a tail, and its nose was shaped more like a bird's beak. Clyde was so busy getting acquainted with the other Joeys on the couch, he didn't even notice the odd creature Polly had gotten out of her pouch. Not until he heard it make its strange noise. He was silenced with surprise and wonder in mid-sentence as he was telling Polly that they had all boys. They both stared at the little critter in silence and then looked at each other. They weren't exactly sure what to say to one another. The baby crawled up and sweetly nuzzled against Polly's ear. Clyde moved closer to get a better look as he said, "Well, well, let me see what we have here." The little creature sat up on its hind legs and put its arms out to Clyde. It was so adorably cute. Regardless of its different appearance, it filled Clyde with great happiness and pride. "Well, honey, we did have all Jacks, but I think this one is a Jill." Both Clyde and Polly had so many feelings they weren't sure which one they could most feel. "She is a perfect Penny Petunia possum," Polly proudly said through her tears of joy. She was so happy that one of the new Joeys wasn't a boy. Even though Penny did look different, Polly agreed with Clyde when he said she was the cutest baby Jill he had ever seen before. They were just about to name the Jacks when they heard a knock on the door. Some of the Joeys were frightened by the knock and scurried to find a place to hide. Clyde went to the door to see who was outside. It was Mama Blossom and Pawpaw Donovan. They were accompanied by Gunther, Ollie, and Rasputin. "Come on in, we have wonderful news to share." Mama Blossom ran towards the couch so fast that she ran into a chair. She stumbled a little, but she managed to not fall. It didn't slow her down at all. She obviously already knew what the news was going to be. Suddenly she was completely frozen in what seemed like a state of shock, when she saw little Penny. There's Uncle, was one of the uncles. He's in a state of shock too. "What in the world is that?" Gunther uncontrollably gasped. The Jacks began to come out of their hiding places, but no one noticed because they had their eyes glued to Penny, and oh, the look on all their faces. Penny wasn't scared of them, and she didn't scurry away. She looked a bit confused, as though she was waiting to hear what they had to say. She put her head back and let out another squeak. Mama Blossom was the first one to speak. Polly was prepared for her to ask how many there were, but instead she asked, "Is that a he or a her?" Polly snickered and told her that she was the only girl out of the 9, and Clyde jokingly claimed and chimed in and said, "And you can't have her, Mama, she's mine." So she's going to be a daddy's girl already. Then they all laughed and agreed that she was the cutest baby possum that they had ever seen before. But she was definitely different, that was for sure. Alright, I'm not sure if I should read you the rest of the book or keep it for a surprise and read the rest of it to you another day. Or maybe you'll get so excited and so anxious to know what the rest of it's about you'll go buy it. I'm just kidding. I'm not good at promoting my stuff. So, but anyway, I think maybe I will wait and read the rest a little bit later on. What do you think? You guys want to hear the rest of it, or you want me to keep it for another day? Keep you in suspense. I used to write for my guy all the time, and I would write to a point where it was really suspenseful, and I'd say, "Okay, that's all you get today." And then I would write some more another day. So I don't know, maybe I should say that's all you get today. Yeah, I think so, maybe. Well, maybe that's not quite half of it, so maybe I'll read one more chapter. And this chapter is called Coming of Age in Muck Swamp. I'm gonna leave you guys suspended somewhere. You hear Shaggy over there, he's just kind of whimpering around. If I'm not giving him attention, he's not happy. So, and yeah. So, like I said, this one's called Coming of Age in Muck Swamp. A few months passed by, and the Jackson Penny Petunia had grown quite a bit. They were happy in the swamp and enjoyed playing together in it. They really enjoyed exploring the labyrinth of tunnels that ran underneath most of the community. They had been quickly taken in by most of the creatures in the Muck Swamp family. Like most siblings, they had their share of disagreements and spats now and then, but they never lasted long, and soon they were past it and all playing together again. Penny Petunia was slow to learn some things. So naturally she was last to leave Polly's apron strings. but she sure loved her brothers a lot. There was Brim, Donovan, Clyde Jr., Shaggy, Rex, Bernard, Polly, and Scott. They all loved Penny Petunia a lot too, even though she looked more and more odd as she grew. She did have one big problem though. Her tail never did grow, and a possum's tail is very important to lots of things that they do. They use their tail to hang upside down to reach food, and the mothers carry their young joys with it too. Penny Petunia got made fun of a lot by some bullies for not having one, but she was happy and she had lots of fun. So she really didn't care when the bullies called her Penny Petunia No Tail too much. She knew her family loved her a whole bunch, and she loved them very much too. Penny Petunia had become great friends with Supergid the raccoon. He said he didn't think that she was a possum at all. She had no tail, her nose and head were not shaped right, and she was way too small. But he said it was okay. He said he liked her a whole lot anyway. Penny and her siblings and friends all played together and explored different places almost every day. Most of the time, Penny Petunia Possum was very happy, and she loved playing with her siblings and all of her friends in Muck Swamp, and she loved spending time with her father and her mother. She still had the occasional bully making fun of her for some reason or another, but mostly she didn't seem to care. Once in a while she would see her reflection though and wonder why she had no tail, and why her face was different, and why she sounded different when she laughed and talked and sang, and why she had splotches of different colors of hair. She was like no other possum she or any of the other creatures had ever seen, but she couldn't understand why being different made the bullies treat her so mean. What should it matter what she looked like anyway? She tried to be kind and thoughtful to all the other critters every day. She was always helping others, and she was a lot of fun to be around. Once she helped Supergid the raccoon and a mommy bird rescue her tiny babies that had fallen out of the nest to the ground. But no matter what she did or how she acted, those bullies just seemed to want to upset her and try to make her cry. As she looked at her reflection, she did sometimes feel upset, but only because she didn't understand why. She didn't understand why they couldn't all be friends and get along. She couldn't understand how being different from others was so wrong. See, even though the bullies' words didn't appear to upset her on the outside and she never cried, their mean words and actions affected her in other ways deep inside.